Good afternoon, Uncle Bashir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much again for talking to Bayloric TV. You know why I'm here to talk to you, and I'm sure a lot of the
I
boxing
do?
fans know.
What's going on?
Well,
Something I should know about?
there is a fight that has been announced October the 24th. And before I even go and talk about that announcement, I have to ask you a question. When I interviewed you in the car, you said to me, when we did it, you said, you know, Vladimir and Banks said to you that they were looking between September and October for the fight with Tyson Fury. So happens that the fight's October 24th in Dusseldorf.
Mm-hmm.
So did you know that was kind of the date? It wasn't September, more October?
No, it was like a ballpark figure. You know, we figured that was the time, the length of time that Vladimir usually fights at that time of the year. So I figured it'd be somewhere around there.
Right. So, okay, the last time we spoke, you said you felt it'd be a 50-50 fight. A lot of boxing fans come back to me and say to me, nah, Bashir don't really believe that. He's just trying to sell a fight. He don't believe that.
I think it'll be a 50-50 fight because of the mindset of Tyson Fury. This guy, this is a chance of a lifetime. This guy's not coming there to lay down. He's coming there to fight. He's coming there to fight. He's going to roll the dice. That's my thinking, you know. Maybe I'm overcautious, but hey, I got respect for him. He's undefeated. He's young. He's big. You know, he's talented, you know, and he can cause problems. My thinking is he can cause problems.
You believe he can cause problems?
Yes.
Now, I know we talked and we've joked before in previous fights, you know, with Jennings, we've talked about that. And this fight, from the get-go, your attitude has been so different about it. My concern is when we go back and look at the Jennings fight. No disrespect to Brian Jennings. It wasn't Brian Jennings' performance that should be criticised. It was what was going on in the other corner with Vladimir. And there were moments I was listening to calling to hear Jonathan Banks. He was saying to Vladimir, just box him, just box him, just box him. And I'm thinking, had someone like Emmanuel Stewart been in the corner, or yourself, a more experienced trainer, we may have seen a different outcome in that fight. And we may have seen Klitschko try and close the range down and Jennings try and go for the knockout.
Well, I was surprised that Vladimir never sought to cut the ring off. If you watch the fight, Jennings was basically moving wherever it was that he wanted to move, and Lad never cut the ring off, or either he wasn't directed to cut the ring off.
Right.
You know, I would have had him to cut the ring off behind that big vaunted jab. I don't care what Jennings did or could have did. That jab would have broke it up. All right, so I would have tried to have Vladimir to cut the ring down a little more and work his jab. You know, in regards to what Jennings was doing, the pressure, the foot pressure, cutting that ring down would have made the difference in the fight. In the first 5-6 rounds, it would have made the difference.
So what were you seeing in the first 5 or 6 rounds from the outside?
I thought that Jennings was jittery. I thought Jennings got comfortable as the fight went on. I thought that he was jittery the first 3 or 4 rounds. He was very jittery. He started relaxing a little more when he got around 5 or 6. But I think those first 3 rounds he was very, very jittery. And that's the time that I would try to impose, have Vladimir to impose his will on him, to force him to use more energy than what he might have wanted to use. You know, I think that he could have done that if he had put the foot pressure on him and cut that ring down, made it a little small. You know, make the ring small as the fight went.
Right. So,
I would have had Vladimir to put that kind of pressure on him.
So Jennings' approach, I mean, there were moments in the fight, I mean, say middle to later stage of the fight, it looked to me that Klitschko actually was tiring. He looked as though, you know, at times Jennings had some sort of position in the fight, but didn't have the experience or the wherewithal or the combinations or the ability to get in and do the damage necessary to finish the job off.
I think that Brian, in my opinion, I don't know what was going through Brian's head, but I think that, as I said before, I think that he did not have that do-or-die mentality in there. He did not come out to roll the dice. It seemed to me that he boxed a good fight, but he did not have that do-or-die mentality as a Joe Frazier or Evander Holyfield would have had. You know, they would have taken more chances, and Brian didn't take those chances for whatever reason. I don't know why.
I guess he could think to himself, well, okay, look, this is the heavyweight champion of the world. The guy's been around 10 years. Why do I want to get knocked out by Vladimir Klitschko? What's the point of that? I can prolong my career and I can fight better other fighters. That got 12 rounds of Klitschko. Hey, that's not a bad thing.
Like I said, Brian Jennings has the same size that Evander Holyfield had in his career. And Holyfield would have created much more problems. He'd have been much more aggressive. He would have taken more chances. That's the kind of guy Evander Holyfield was. I'm going to take chances. I'm here at the dance, so I'm going to do it. You know, and Brian didn't.
So here we have a man now in Tyson Fury who will take chances. He has already called Klitschko. He's already started by calling Klitschko a shithole. He's said Klitschko is a 40-year-old man. He said, if I can't beat a Klitschko, something's wrong with me. If I can't be a 40-year-old man, there's something wrong with me. I'm a fighting man. I'm an adaptable fighting man.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter, but I think that he would. Well, I think that he'd be making a mistake to keep alluding to Vladimir Klitschko's age, because let's be for real, Vladimir Klitschko is not your typical 40-year-old fighter. He's not your typical 40-year-old fighter. He's 40 years old, but he has the physical attributes of somebody that's 30 years old.
Okay.
Taking very good care of himself, very, very good care of himself as an athlete and as a boxer. So he'll be strong. He'll be powerful. And Tyson hasn't been hit by anybody the way he'll be hit in this fight here. Tyson will land some punches, but he won't hit Vladimir Klitschko with punches that Vladimir Klitschko that hasn't been hit with before. But Tyson Fury is going to be hit with punches that he's never been hit with before. So he has some things to deal with too. It's a two-way street. It's a good fight.
I understand that, but I notice people talk about work rates, and I notice that when you move up in level and you move up in class, your work rate starts to, some fighters' work rate seem to break off because they're now getting hit back more, their punches are being avoided more. Pacquiao, Mayweather, perfect example. Pacquiao's got throw so many punches, and I said to people, that's great against those guys, but now he's fighting Mayweather. He won't land as many punches on Mayweather, and his punch output will lessen because you've got punches that are going to get slipped, missed. He's going to get countered.
Well, Brian Jennings was one fight from Vladimir Klitschko, but if you look back at the fighters that Vladimir Klitschko fought, Tony Thompson,
yes,
Marius Wack,
yes,
Pulev, all big fighters, Vladimir seems to do better fighting big fighters than he does fighting smaller fighters. He seems to do better to me. He seems to land better punches. He seems to look better. I'm just looking at the guy, the big guys that he fought. He's more aggressive with them.
Okay,
I guess because he knows that he can land punches on those.
I agree.
He doesn't.
Corey Sanders, the southpaw, gave Vladimir fits, and also Tony Thompson gave him fits as well.
That was pre Emmanuel Stewart.
Well, you had Tony Thompson, and that was Emmanuel Stewart time, and Tony Thompson was causing problems, caused a lot of problems. In the first fight, particular?
Tony Thompson's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. He's a very durable fighter. He's a tough guy, you know. So he can cause problems for just about anybody, even to this day. So you really can't gauge anything by he giving Vladimir a tough time. You just look at the end results both times.
So how much of, if you look at the undefeated fighters Vladimir's fought previously, and now he fights Tyson Fury, who's the best undefeated fighter on paper you think Vladimir will have faced, including Tyson Fury?
It's very difficult for me to say. I mean, Vladimir's had so many fights. It becomes a blur.
You had Pulev; he was unbeaten.
I think Marius Rock was a very good test for Vladimir Klitschko. I think that was a very, very good test for him. He was trying as best he could.
Yep.
It's very taxing. Marius Rock was trying. He believed, you know. He was trying. His style was presented some problems. His size presented some problems, and Vladimir solved those problems. You know, I look at it, you know, like there are some tangibles in the Fury fight of which I won't allude to right now that I'll tell Vladimir. I'll go over details with Vladimir. We'll go over the films together, and I'll allude to it. Aside from what Jonathan Banks assesses, I'll have a personal input, and I'll tell Vladimir some things that'll be very tangible for him in this fight. Things that Tyson Fury can't do anything about. Things that he can't change. That'll make him very accessible for Vladimir Klitschko. So, you know, I've been watching him for quite some time, not just up for this fight, but I've been watching him for quite some time. And there are things about him that will make him accessible for Vladimir Klitschko. I see the fight ending in a knockout. It'll be a tough fight, but I see the fight ending in a knockout. Because Vladimir hits Tyson Fury the way that Stevie Cunningham hit him, he won't get up. He will not get up. You know, he's a good fighter, but I think that if Stevie Cunningham has some more flesh on his butt, some more flesh on his thighs, some more flesh on his calves, he can knock Fury out in that fight. That's tight. That's Stevie Cunningham. And what did Cunningham wait for that fight?
215, 220?
Yeah. Okay. And Cunningham is not as athletic as Vladimir Klitschko. So I'm saying that there are some things that are tangible for Vladimir Klitschko. And then things tangible for Tyson Fury. You know, things that Vladimir will have to safeguard against, things that he won't be able to change about his anatomy. But I feel pretty good about the chances of this fight. I think that this fight will end in a knockout.
I know you talk about fights ending in knockouts. I know you said that Jennings' fight will probably end in a knockout. But the also reminder is that your man Klitschko has been knocked out 3 times previously. Where I know you talk about chins, but your guy's been knocked out.
So well, when I say about chins, you know, I mean previous win. When is previous? Previous has been a long previous ago.
But it's happened. He's been knocked out 3 times. So we talk about knockouts.
It's all right. He got knocked out in barn burners. You know, that's what happens when you take chances, you know.
He'd been knocked out in 6. And when was the last time he was in a barn burner? I mean, somebody who really took the fight to him. Again, the last barn burner we probably could have was the Pulev fight. That was a barn burner because Pulev came out and said, let's have it. But he came out recklessly, though.
Yeah, that's what the pros and cons of fighting Vladimir Klitschko is. You get ballsy and you get knocked out. You know, Tyson Fury is a ballsy guy. He's going to come to fight. So I think that he's just going to make Vladimir Klitschko better. I'm looking forward to the fight. I wish the fight was next week, man. Really.
Is this one of the best heavyweight fights that could be made currently? Or is it the
I
best
think
heavyweight?
I think it's one of the best fights that can be made currently because Tyson sold this whole promotion lively, and I like it. I like it. I like it for Vladimir. I like it for the sport. It's just going to be a pleasure. I like it.
Let me ask you a question. How do you think Vladimir is going to respond at a press conference when he's got a guy like Tyson Fury up in his face calling him a shithouse and insulting him? How's Vladimir? You know Vladimir well enough. How is he going to respond? Is the Iceman going to crack? Are we going to get Vladimir getting involved in verbals? Is it going to be pushing and shoving, or are we going to get Vladimir being his same old, no emotion whatsoever? I am Vladimir Klitschko. Are we going to get that, or are we going to get some emotion for a change?
Vladimir Klitschko is a seasoned professional. Been there, done that. This guy is a seasoned guy. He's not going to rattle.
I know he's seasoned, but he's never had no one call him a shithouse. No one's called him out this way.
He's not going to be rattled. Tyson Fury's not going to rattle him.
Really? Pulev rattled him. He got mad against Pulev.
He got mad in the ring. But in the press conference and stuff, he wasn't rattled. He's a seasoned professional. He's too professional for this kind of stuff, Tyson Fury is just going to... I don't want to talk about the tangibles, but it's something. I don't want to help Peter to help Tyson and Peter and them prepare. But there are many tangibles that I will make Vladimir Klitschko aware of. There's just so many tangibles.
But you can make a man aware of things.
For the bell. I want the bell to ring. I'm waiting for the bell to ring. There's so many tangibles here. That's available to the Klitschko team, and you'll see that when the bell rings. It's just so many tangibles that I'm going to make Vladimir aware of.
But you can make him aware. Make him aware, but he still has to respond.
Yeah, he will. He will. He'll respond. I'm just gonna put the tangibles on the table. Say this is what's available to you.
The tangibles I put to Tyson. I said to him, listen. And I said in the interview quite straight up to him. I said, listen, if Cunningham can put you on your ass, then what's Klitschko gonna do to you? But he said a punch is a punch, and it's a fight, and he's a fighting man.
A punch is not a punch. Punches vary. All right, the punch is not a punch. A punch varies, and I'm thinking that Cunningham had about 225 or 229 on his ass and on his thighs that he wouldn't have got up.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Even I myself know that Cunningham punch was because Tyson was clowning around. He was clowning around. He had his hands down by his side, saying, "Come on," and got clocked. When he got dropped by what's his other guy? I think it's Pajcik. He was clowning around.
Yeah, but what does that tell you? That he can be put down.
So can Klitschko be put down? So that's not much of an argument, is it? He got put down twice by Samuel Peter. He got destroyed by what's his name? What's that guy's again?
But Samuel Peter only one of Samuel Peter. Listen. Only one of Samuel Peter's punches.
He got knocked out by the part-time golfer. Let's be honest. He was a golfer that came out of retirement and went and fought him. He was a golfer. He was playing golf. He came off the field and knocked out Vladimir Klitschko. You gotta remember, Corey Sanders is one of the hardest punching heavyweights in the last 30 years. Oh, I agree with that point.
With either hand, he can hurt you.
Because he didn't care. He didn't give a damn. He just said, "You know what? You're getting it tonight." That was it. There was none of this respectful stuff. He came straight at Vladimir and he went at him.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, when is the last time that Vladimir Klitschko was put down? We're talking about something that happened, what, 10 years ago? When is the last time that Vladimir Klitschko has been on his back?
October the 24th.
When's the last time somebody cracked him?
October the 24th.
Oh boy, and what's going to happen? We're going to be talking about the fight after Fury. So Now this next guy is really going to get Latimer. I've heard so many stories about who's going to get Latimer and Klitschko, who's going to take him out of it, and then as soon as he finishes with Fury, then you'll come on with the next guy. Oh man, Deontay Wilder is the guy that's going. He's the guy that's going to do it.
I'm running out of people. I'm running out of people.
Sooner or later, somebody will get Latimer, and then you say, "I told you." I say, "Well, it's about time." You know, but I think Tyson Fury. I think Tyson will put up a tremendous fight. I think that he'll be well prepared for this fight. I think he'll put up a tremendous fight. And like I said, it's a 50-50 fight for Williamson. People might say I'm just talking, but I'm cautious like that. I'm very cautious like that.
Okay.
But in the end, I think that Vladimir Klitschko knocked him out.
Well, of course you're going to say that. You've got to say that because how can you?
It's what I believe. It's what I believe.
But how can you be in this corner and think your man's going to get knocked out? What kind of stuff is that? For an experience, if you sat in a corner and you were saying to me,
I think no. I'm not saying it just because I don't want to just say something because I'm working for somebody or I'm with somebody. I'm saying what I believe. I'm looking at the styles. I'm looking at the mentalities. Tyson Fury is going to try, and because he tries, the guys that tries, they open up, they take more chances. Tyson Fury is going to take chances, and in doing so, he makes himself available to get hit. You know, he can box, but I think that he's going to take chances. He's just that kind of guy, and when he does, that opens him up and makes him vulnerable to punches. Now, I'm not saying that he too can't knock Vladimir Klitschko out. No, I'm not saying that there. I'm just saying what I think will happen. That somewhere in that fight, guns going to be blazing, and two guys are going to be out there fighting, and one guy's going to get caught.
Okay.
Got to get caught.
I agree that I would say Klitschko's a masterful boxer against guys that are shorter than him and people that he can hold and hug. And we saw a lot of hugging and holding yet again in the Jennings fight. The one thing that Tyson Fury does bring to the table is a better style of inside fighting. He's a better inside fighter than Vladimir Klitschko.
Perhaps.
What does that bring to the table?
It makes the fight more interesting. If he fights on the inside, it makes the fight more interesting. That's all I can say. It makes the fight more interesting.
Because, in my analysis, a guy that does a lot of holding is a guy that doesn't have a great inside game. Please correct me if I'm wrong here.
Different fighters hold for different reasons.
Okay, it's different between a guy holding.
I think it's more mental with Vladimir as opposed to being physical, because if you look back at some other fights, he did fight on the inside. He did fight good on the inside. Charles Shuford, Ray Mercer, Jamil McCline, and so on. You know, he punched. So it's just a matter of chemistry between him and Jonathan Banks that will bring out the best in Vladimir Klitschko in that corner.
The style creative of Vladimir Klitschko has been one that's been created for Emmanuel Stewart based on the fact that he got knocked out previously before. So now it's a style that's reconstructed to keep his chin tucked in to prevent him from getting knocked out. That's how I sort of made up, kind of see the Vladimir Klitschko style. A very effective style, don't get me wrong. Great left jab, great right hand, great timing, able to come in and out, good left hook, very good left hook when thrown, timing very good, gets himself into great shape, distance. Those things are fantastic about Vladimir. The holding, and when it gets up close, he still seems to have that sort of fear in his eyes. And there are moments when Jennings was starting to close the range down on Klitschko, and he had that sort of still that panic in his eyes as to not quite knowing what to do. He was okay at distance. It was that sort of mid to close on the chest range that it seemed Klitschko was very uncomfortable with.
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
No, I know you wouldn't have anything to say about that.
No, I don't know what to say about that. That analogy, it could be a lot of reasons why he has that look. It's pro boxing, and one punch can change the outlook, especially in the heavyweight division.
Agreed.
So, how about just I'm just alert. I'm just very alert. So you never can say what's going through a fighter's mind at that given time in that square ring. I do think that Tyson Fury is going to try some things. I think he's going to try to open up. I think he's going to fight. And I maintain that it's a 50-50 contest.
Is he the best
The
challenger?
one that can maintain his posture. Huh?
Is he the best challenger that's around in the heavyweight division at the moment for Vladimir Klitschko? If you look in the top 10? At the moment?
I mean, Deontay Wilder would be a formidable foe.
Right.
He's formidable. He's at the top of his game.
Right.
He's formidable. And Tyson Fury or Walk seems to be trying to bounce back. But I guess it's a good fight. Put it like that, D. I'm trying to go through the top 10 in my mind, but I can't even put the top 10 in perspective.
You've got Joshua, you've got
just no
Parker, you've got...
Joshua is still... Parker is green and Joshua is green.
Agreed.
Those guys are green, so... I can see them in that picture this time next year, though. As green as they may be then, this time next year, I can see Parker and Joshua in the picture.
While I'm at it, your thoughts on Dillian Whyte? There's a fight mooted between him and Joshua down in November time, potentially.
I think that's a good fight to take now. I think that Dillian Whyte is I know he had to have some warm-up fights because of re-entering the sport, but I think that he doesn't need these kind of fights no more. I think he needs to start climbing the ladder right now.
Right.
While the momentum is on his side, the youth and the momentum is on his side. He's had 3 or 4 tune-up fights, so now it's time to start getting to the meat and potatoes. So a fight between him and Joshua is definitely not out of the question. I'd like to see that.
How does that fight go? Joshua and...
Oh, it's a good fight. It's a good fight. Joshua has been moving along steadily, and Dillian, like I said, he's just getting back in the sport. But Dillian needs somebody to test him before he gets in with Joshua, because, like I said, momentum helps a guy win or lose, and right now the momentum is with Joshua. You can't base the fact that Dillian stopped Joshua in the amateur. You can't base that on the pros. The pros is a whole different game, whole different animal.
Agreed.
So I think that the momentum right now is with Joshua, and I think that Dillian needs to take a fight, maybe 2 fights before he goes in with Joshua. But good, stiff fights to test him. He has to be tested. He can't go in with the guys that he's been fighting.
The British public are very much behind Anthony Joshua, and he can do no wrong. His last fight against Kevin Johnson was a blowout, and people are saying because he blew out Kevin Johnson that he's the next heavyweight champion in waiting. But for me, I believe boxing's about levels. And, he's yet to have the chin test. He's yet to have the stamina test. And a lot of British fans get on my back and say, I'm hating Anthony Joshua. But it's just that there are certain levels a fighter goes through before you can turn him from prospect to champion. There's that road that every fighter, whether it be Ali, Tyson, Foreman, Joe Fraser, they all had to go through those testing fights before they had that big fight to make them a champion. And it seems to be like, it's okay, because he's Anthony Joshua, he can knock out of certain guys, and then that automatically puts him as number 2 and makes him world class. I don't understand it. I never understood about David Price, and now they're saying the same thing about Anthony Joshua.
I think Anthony Joshua might be a polished George Foreman for this era.
Really?
You know, yeah, I think he might be a polished George Foreman. You know, his technique is better than George's, but his punching power has the same results. When you can punch like Anthony Joshua, that puts you in the ballpark with anybody.
Right.
It puts you in the ballpark with anybody that's out there, including Dillian White. I'd like to see that fight. I'd like to see that fight before the end of the year. But Dillian needs 2 fights. He needs 2 tests. He needs 2 tests.
Okay.
And depending on how he does in those 2 tests will determine whether he should take a fight with Joshua in December.
Okay. I want to talk about one of your other fighters. I think it's a new guy that you've got signed up with you. You said he's going to go all the way. I think, is he from Chicago or from... I saw a photograph of him the other day. Either middleweight or light heavyweight, I'm not sure.
No.
A young brother. Totteridge, his name? Totteridge or...
No. No, I'm not. I don't have nobody from Chicago.
There was a guy the other day you were trading. I saw a picture of you and him posing together. Black gentleman. American.
No. I must not have nothing to do with it because I can't remember his name.
What? There's a picture of you posing with him?
No, we probably work together in the gym or something. I'm traveling a lot around the state, so
okay. So he's not one of
I'm allowed to be in the gym.
I see.
I'm allowed to be. I have a young man that I'm going to be working with, light heavyweight, a super middleweight kid, but he hasn't even turned pro yet, so I'm not even talking about him now.
Okay.
My project now, my eyes are on Oleksandr Usyk. I really got a lot invested in this young man. I think that he can go all the way as a cruiserweight.
Yes.
And eventually, well, Anthony Joshua won the super heavyweight division in the Olympics in 2012, and Oleksandr Usyk won the heavyweight Olympic gold medal, and he's campaigning as a cruiserweight.
Wow.
And he's 7-0. He's rated at number 2 in the world by the WBO. So I think that Oleksandr Usyk belongs in the ring with Marco Huck, Hernandez, Lebedev, and the other guys there. I think that he can hold his own with those guys with just 10 fights because he's had over 300 amateur fights, so he's in a good place where he can compete with those guys. And those fights are not a given. He'll have to earn his stripes in those fights because those guys are good fighters.
So what's the latest news with Usyk? When's his next fight? When's he next out again?
Well, I'm gonna head into the Ukraine on the sometime this month, and begin our training. And our fight will probably be late August.
Okay.
So I'll head into the Ukraine in a couple of weeks. I'll head over there and break the camp, break ground for training camp.
I read an article recently that there was somebody a fighter wasn't particularly impressed with him or shooting their mouth off about him. I don't know if it was, was it Babitov? Maybe.
Beterbiev.
Yeah, Beterbiev. Yes. Maybe it was him. He was saying that Usyk. He had some beef with Usyk, and he was saying, "Oh, Usyk's this and Usyk's that, and we need to fight and all this sort of stuff."
Well, Beterbiev is a light heavyweight.
So it wasn't him then. It was obviously somebody in the cruiserweight division having a, and it was somebody from that neck of the woods.
Yeah, I suppose there's a couple guys over there that thinks that they can beat him, but at the end of the day, that this sport is the name of the sport is boxing, and that's what I'm teaching the people that I'm working with. I'm teaching them how to box. Punching and fighting and all of that stuff comes secondary with me. I want to teach the boxers that I'm working with the etiquette of boxing. Boxing 101. If you know how to box, then it'll get you to the platform where you can be a puncher and a fighter. But you have to learn the language of the sport, boxing. How to work a good jab, how to land your power punches, with either hand, left hand or right hand, whatever the case might be. So I'm teaching the language of boxing, and so far, Alexander Usyk is doing a good job of learning that.
Okay. Eddie Chambers signed with Al Heyman, as you know now.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Eddie and I communicate all the time. Eddie has asked me to work with him here. If he's not in England, work with Peter. Eddie Chambers and I, we have a great camaraderie, and he's asked me to train him. So Eddie and I will be working together again going forward. We'll be working together,
That's what
and
he did
I
tell
feel
me.
I feel very, very comfortable training Eddie Chambers. I feel very comfortable. I know him through and through. I've watched him even before I trained him. I've watched and studied his style, uh, his plus and minuses, and I feel very comfortable training him. What I would like to do is have Eddie Chambers come to Europe with me to box with Usyk. I would like that.
But
I would like for him.
how's that relationship going to work? Because obviously he's got you in America, he's got Peter in the UK. How does that bring any sort of, I don't know, because you may have different styles or maybe of the same thinking.
I think styles will not change with Eddie Chambers. I think the application of who's in that corner will make the difference in how he fights the fight.
Right.
So application is more of an issue than the style, because Eddie Chambers is going to be Eddie Chambers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You could teach a fighter what you want to teach him, but once he gets hits, once he gets fatigued, then the real person is going to come out. So
Yes.
I think application is an issue more so than the boxing style itself.
So how do you think now being with Al Heyman will benefit his career?
Well, the fact that Al Heyman has all the top fighters and all of the fighters just below the top fighters, I think it'll be beneficial because he'll have a farm full of people that he can work with in the ring. So he'll be able to have access to the fights that he needs to grow.
But I can't actually see Eddie Chambers fighting Vladimir Klitschko again. If Tyson was successful against Klitschko, I can't see that fight happening. The only door I can see actually happening is Eddie Chambers versus Deontay Wilder. But that might not even happen because if Klitschko beats Fury, then he'd go on and fight Wilder.
I'd like to see Wilder versus Eddie Chambers. I think that's a good fight. I think that's a superb fight. I'd love to see that fight.
What do you think of Wilder's last fight then?
Yeah, I gave him a B plus. He's still green. He's still growing. He's still green. He's still growing. He has some things to learn, but not bad. Not great, but not bad.
Lucas Brown's been doing a lot of talking recently to try and get a fight with himself against Wilder. I mean, I talked to Lucas quite honestly, and I said, look, I don't know how you beat Wilder. I mean, you hit very hard, and if it's you who hits Wilder the night that Molina hit him, that fight would have been over. But my concern with Lucas Brown was too slow of foot, too slow of hands, short hands, and how is he going to get into somebody like Wilder? If he hits him, good night.
Like I say, Wilder is a work in progress.
Right.
And his jab has gotten better.
Yes.
And the fact that he is a world champion now, he's gonna start fitting into that robe a lot better than he was as a challenger.
Right.
He's still green and he's still growing. Lucas Brown's a very strong guy, very hard puncher, but I just don't see him getting close enough to Wilder to make an impact. I don't think he'll get that close. I think that he'll be in a meat grinder coming into Wilder.
Those are my thoughts. What about him against Shagayev? That fight's never seems to happen.
Lucas Shagayev?
Yes.
It's anybody's fight. I haven't felt anything for Shagayev in some time. I think Shagayev is a guy. He's like Humpty Dumpty sitting on the wall. So I don't think that much of him. I could care less about the fight between the two of them. It's just nothing there to attract me.
Interesting. What about the return of their Haymaker? Everyone's talking about the Haymaker and his potential return. I think there's no. He's finished personally because his speed and reflexes. I can't really see him coming back and being the same guy he was in 2013. But fight fans seem to think David Haye is going to be better coming back. But his whole style was speed and movement. And surely as you get older, you get slower. Can't get better.
I like David Haye. He's a very interesting character. Great puncher.
Mm-hmm.
Great ring skills. But you don't know now because he's been out so long. That's the problem, you know. But I like him as a fighter. You know, I like him as a fighter. I like him as a personality. I think that he belongs there right there with the best if he can muster up any kind of energy to get back in there. When is he going to come back? Where is he at? What's he doing? I don't know anything about him in the last couple of years. You know, I just don't see anything about him that's interesting now because he's out of the range, you know, and he's all but missing in action.
I heard he's making a comeback, but I keep hearing about his comeback. I've been hearing his comeback since 2013, but no comeback.
I would like to have worked with him. You know. I really would like to have worked with him, trained him for one fight at least. There's some things that I could have worked on with him that would keep him right in the picture. He's a good talent. He's got some skills.
But speed and movement is a lot. That's what his whole career's been around. Speed, movement, not being hit. If your whole, like Roy Jones, for example, when you lose that speed,
Roy Jones, yeah.
What happens to you? You no longer can do the same things.
Right. But he doesn't strike me as a guy that lives bad. I've never got that impression that he lived bad. You know, that he lives pretty clean.
Do you think he could come back?
Yeah, I think he can come back. What is he, 34?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can come back.
And at the top of the heavyweight tree?
Yeah, he can come back. He take 2-3 fights to get back in. David Haye can come back. Like I said, I never got that impression that he lived bad. You know, I think that he can make it back.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Couple of fights coming up. Keith Thurman, Luis Collazo.
Thurman knockout.
Easy?
No. Be interesting for 3 or 4 rounds, but Thurman catches him somewhere between 4 and 7 knockout.
Wow.
Collazo's been out since he fought Khan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just he's the way Collazo is a crafty guy, resourceful guy, but Thurman's going to get him.
What did you think of Amir Khan's last fight against Chris Algieri, and then his comments about if Mayweather doesn't fight him, Mayweather ruins his legacy?
Not so. I put no stock in what he said there. He's just trying to make the fight. But I don't like Amir Khan's style. He's fast, got fast hands, but it looks like he's on roller skates when he's punching. He looks like he's moving, he's moving with the punches and stuff. I don't like. And the Chris Algieri fight, it looked like he struggled in that fight. It looked like he was struggling in that fight, you know? I mean, he got the win and all, but it looked like he was really struggling to get there, you know? I don't think too much about him, you know? I just don't think nothing about him. I'm not attracted to him.
Okay. Okay. Him versus Kell Brook. Who wins that fight?
Brook.
Why?
Brook is better suited and spiritually, Brook feels that he can beat Amir Khan. I like Brook's style better, his boxing skills better. Amir Khan's going to have to do something to him and make me say, whoa, this is the guy I never saw before, you know? But I've seen so much with Amir Khan, and I'm just not impressed.
Not impressed with him.
No, I'm not impressed with him.
What about the Kell Brook story so far?
I think that he's doing a good job. I think he's doing a good job, and I think that he'll do even better. I think a lot has to do with boxing, like I've said on many occasions. There are no teachers. It seems like the boxers get to a certain level and then they just stay at that level, such as the case with Amir Khan. It just looked like he's on a level where this is it. I can't go no higher. I can't get no better. Because it just seems to me, and I'm not putting anybody down, it just seems to me that the people around that are supposed to be trainers never was really taught by any other trainers, and they seem like they don't have much to offer the guys that they got. That's what it seems to be to me. It's just no effective strategies. I looked at Sean Porter versus Adrian Broner, and I wasn't impressed at all. It was an ugly fight. Porter was throwing punches from the back seat. Adrian Broner waited till he got right on Sean Porter's kneecap before he tried to throw a punch. And I said, what's going on here? Adrian Broner didn't even know his range, his own range. And then Porter was struggling to win the fight. He won the fight ugly with that mauling and brawling, which he had to do. I said, this is not good, it's not good.
So where do you put Adrian Broner today?
Adrian Broner has got to change some things because he's a better fighter than what he's displayed. I'm very impressed with his style, but it seems like he's retrogressing instead of progressing. It doesn't seem like he's studious. It doesn't seem like he's doing the best that he's capable of doing. And it may come back to haunt him. Sean Porter won the fight. He out-hustled Adrian Broner. But had Broner fought the kind of fight that Broner's capable of fighting, he would have did a number on Porter. It was there for him all night. He was there to be had all night long, and he just let it go. Let it get away.
Billy Joe Saunders versus Andy Lee.
Good fight. Good even fight. It's a good fight. That's a good even fight. I can't pick a winner in that fight. I can't pick a winner in that fight. But if I had to go either way, I'd go with Andy Lee. Because Andy Lee then finished 2 fights, with that right hand. He's finished 2 fights. He's finished them. He's turned the lights out that right hand. That's nasty, man. As a middleweight, he's making a statement with that right hook.
I know.
Because it saved him a couple of times, and he's putting people out of there with it.
And he's dropping top guys like Quillin as well. I mean,
Yeah. But again, like I said, most of these guys don't have no teachers. Quinlan is in bad need of a teacher. He's in bad need. He needs a teacher. There's not a lot of teachers in the sport, and it's sad. Boxing is the only sport where your father and your mother can come in and train you. Your friend from down the street can train you. You can't do that in the NBA. You understand? The NBL, the NHL, tennis. You can't do that in no other sport but boxing.
But the Venus sisters are doing not too bad, but they got coached by their father.
Yeah, but that's one of a kind thing.
That's an exception to the rule, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't.
Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, you go
Lewis
to
Hamilton
NFL.
and his father.
Huh?
Lewis Hamilton and his father.
Who's Lewis Hamilton?
The Formula One guy.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But
So
it's
I have to
another
take
rare
your word
case,
for
though.
that. Yeah, they're rare cases, But most of these things, for instance, in boxing, if I don't know why this thing, it's not the charges running out. It should have been charged up by now. Um, most of the cases in boxing, if you go to where are they now? Looking back on boxing, where you got a father and son team in boxing, and you do a case and you say, where are they now? I guarantee you that they're not in boxing.
Shane
The
Mosley and his
father,
father. His father, is he
where
still
are they
coaching
now?
people? Is he coaching anybody now, his father?
Yeah, his father's still coaching somewhere in California, but I never thought that he was a good coach anyway. I never thought that he was a good coach. I mean, he didn't show me anything that he was a good coach. I never got nothing out of that. I mean, he was just Shane Mosley's father. But he didn't show me that he was a great coach.
Danny Garcia's dad, Angel Garcia.
Again, he's just a guy that's Danny Garcia's father. But he doesn't show me good technical skills in the corner. But he's good for Danny Garcia.
He's very good for Danny Garcia. He is. He's the
You know?
mouthpiece for Danny Garcia. He's his ultimate PR. But I think Danny Garcia's going backwards. I don't think he's going forwards. I think he's going backwards as a fighter.
His last couple of fights, he hasn't looked good.
He hasn't. Since the Matisse fight.
Yeah, he might be getting a little tired or something. He hasn't looked good in this last couple of fights.
He's going to fight Paulie Malignaggi next.
Danny Garcia?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll beat Paulie. I think he'll beat Paulie. But Paulie can surprise people because Danny, in one of those fights with the Argentine kid, he got outboxed.
That's my point.
He got outboxed, and Paulie is a boxing master. Paulie can box.
But he can't punch. If he could punch.
No, he can't punch. He's not noted as a puncher. But I think that he, depending on what Paulie shows up, he can cause some problems.
Okay.
I like his heart. I like his ring generalship.
Yeah.
I like his knowledge of the sport. So, I mean, the right Paulie shows up, it can be pretty good.
Here's a fighter and a trainer that I'd like to ask a bit more about. Gennady Golovkin and Abel Sanchez. We talked about this before. We talked about the fact that Abel will more likely want Gennady to stay at middleweight and clean up at middleweight division, get guys to come up from from the welterweight division, move up to the middleweight division, beat those guys up, rather than move up to the super middleweight division. Carl Froch.
Well, that's what Abel does. Abel did that with Terry Norris.
Exactly.
He tried to lure Whitaker and all of those guys to come up, as opposed to telling Terry to move up to middleweight. He kept him at junior middleweight, and he tried to lure all of the little guys to come up from welterweight to fight Terry, but he never took Terry to venture into the middleweights. Carl Froch is a sly old fox who's leading people to believe that he might be a little leery of Gennady Golovkin, but Froch has been there, done that. He's been in some tough fights, and I don't think he's going to shy away from Gennady Golovkin, and he might be the best yet that Golovkin has fought.
How does that fight go?
If that fight actually comes off. I tell you, it's an interesting fight. Because I think that Golovkin will get hit a lot more in that fight than he's has gotten in any previous fight. And if he gets hit by Froch, it could tell the difference. So I think this might be the most serious fight that Gennady Golovkin has had in recent memory, if ever. Gennady Golovkin's problem, in my opinion, is that he's won a lot of meaningless fights. The public looks at those fights as, okay, he won those fights. He beat them all. But Curtis Stevens being his most serious fight in recent memory. I mean, I might be overlooking somebody because I don't keep up with the guys he fought, because to me they were all afraid of him.
Yes.
So it might be somebody I'm overlooking, but I think in my mind, Curtis Stevens might be the most serious guy. You know, having said that, he hasn't faced the Rodrigo Valdez, Carlos Mondon, Nino Benvenuti, Emil Griffith. He hasn't faced those kind of guys.
Or
Marvin Hagler, Gerald McClellan.
That's my
he
point.
Hasn't faced
I've said this over
those
and over
guys
again.
that says he hasn't faced those guys that when he come after them to do something, they say, "Well, come on, because I'm Gerald McClellan. So you come on over here with what you got, and I'm going to give you what I got." And then when we walk back the corner and say, "Damn right, we're going to come back out. We're going to do." He hasn't faced that kind of opposition that wasn't afraid of him. So he has, for me, being a boxing expert, a person that's deep into the sport, he hasn't faced that kind of competition yet, and I'm anxious to see what's going to happen when he does.
I said to Abel Sanchez, the man I want to see Gennady fight is David Lemieux, because he punches with both hands and he's got bad intentions. Yeah. Let's see him fight him.
Yeah, that would be a good fight for him, because David wouldn't be afraid of him.
Oh no, he won't.
Most of those guys are afraid of Golovkin when he gets in there. And I'm not saying that's not a slight to Gennady Golovkin. It's not a slight, because it's not his fault that the guy's name. But they've made a picnic out of fighting guys that I don't remember their names. If somebody pulled a gun on me right now and said, "Give me the names of the last 3 guys he fought," I'll say, "Man, I'm a dead guy because I can't remember their names." That's how meaningless. That's how meaningless the fights were to me.
Yeah, but fight fans
and this last kid, last kid was tagging him.
I know.
He was hitting him with clean. I said, and one time it seemed to me that he stunned him. You understand? And I'm saying, if he was in there, Gennady Golovkin was fighting Carlos Monzon, all right, Gerald McClellan, Marvin Hagler, it would be a different outcome.
Julian Jackson.
Would be different. I'm not saying that. Yeah, Julian Jackson. I'm saying, you understand? So the average boxing fan, they don't know about the annals of boxing, where they were tough middleweight fighters that would have gave him a lot of contests. Michael Nunn would have stopped him. Michael Nunn would have stopped Gennady Golovkin.
Really?
Yeah. Michael Nunn would have stopped him. Michael Nunn would have beat Gennady Golovkin up. He was a southpaw, he was tall, and he could box. And boxing seems to be the Achilles tendon for Gennady Golovkin. Good boxers. Guys that stick and move. Michael Nunn had all of that there. James Toney would have took him to school. James Toney would have spanked him. Ray Leonard would have spanked him. Tommy Hearns would have knocked him out. So I see a lot of guys that would have beat him.
What would Nigel Benn have done to him?
Nigel Benn would have stopped him. Nigel Benn would knock him out. Nigel Benn would knock out Gennady Golovkin, because Golovkin takes too much.
According to Abel Sanchez, this is not the case. He's got he doesn't get hit often. And he said that Andre Ward gets hit more than him.
Abel Sanchez must be on drugs.
Well, bless him. Bless Abel.
Well, okay, all right. Let me rephrase that there. If he's not taking punches, only because he's not in there with people who are capable of punching him. How about that?
But I've said that to him as well. That's what I said to him. I said to him, the guys he's fighting are not really, who's he of boxing.
They're throwing punches at him, saying, I hope I hit him, I hope I hit him, I hope I hit him.
That's right.
That's like buying a lottery ticket and saying, I hope I hit the line, hope I hit the line. You understand? These guys, Nigel Benn, Chris Eubanks, John Collins, those guys would have been planning on hitting you on the chin. All right? They would have been planning. They would have been plotting and boxing and planning to hit you. I'm telling you, Michael Nunn would take that guy to school.
What about
his middleweight?
What about his big punch power that everyone's talking about?
Gennady?
Yeah.
What round did he stop Monroe in?
5th or 6th, I think.
Mm-hmm. What round did he stop Curtis Stevens in?
5th or 6th, or maybe, I think.
He's a puncher. He's a puncher, but so were they. Julian Jackson, you understand? Marvin Hagler.
But this is my point. I said to people as well.
Rodrigo Valdez, Carlos Monzon, Nino Benvenuti. These guys were punchers too.
These boxing experts say, "Oh, but he can cut the range down." I said, "I can cut the range down on a baby because nobody's throwing anything back of consequence. Let me see you cut a range down against a guy that's hitting you back hard. Then cut the range down on a guy like that. Then we know if you can cut a range down."
Like I said, Triple G is a good fighter, but he hasn't had qualified dance partners.
What about Andy Lee?
Andy Lee, I don't think mentally he wants to get in with Triple G as of yet. I just don't get that he wants to get in with him.
But that right hook, what do you think?
Yeah, right hook is dangerous. He's proven that in the last 2 fights. That right hook is nothing to sleep on, you know. Golovkin comes forward and he takes chances. Andy Lee doesn't show the enthusiasm that I would expect that for him to show. So look, give me Golovkin now.
That's true.
So maybe Andy Lee is not comfortable in his skin facing Triple G.
Yeah, you know? He might not come out. He might be a puncher, but he might not want to punch against someone like Triple G.
Right.
One final fighter.
I think that there's... Go ahead.
Sergey Kovalev. That's a guy that's always impressed me. What are your thoughts about him?
Tough puncher. And I'd like to see him in with Stevenson.
Oh,
I think that's a fight.
That's a fight.
That should be made now. Yeah, I think the fight should be made right now. Right now. I think that fight should be made right now. And Better Beef is coming. You know, he's got 7 fights and 7 knockouts. But he's just a reckless mule, you know, that comes in there to punch. His boxing skills are not all of that, but he comes to punch. He's a clear and present danger. You know, so we have to see how he fares in his upcoming fights.
Stevenson versus Kovalev. Who wins and why?
I think that Kovalev wins the fight. Stevenson seems to be a one-trick pony, the left hand.
Yes.
Where Kovalev has other things that benefits him. As we saw in the Hopkins fight, he has a good boxing mind because he never got in range with Hopkins could counterpunch. Hopkins was depending on counterpunching, but he was smart enough to box him and stay out of range where he made Hopkins counterpunching ineffective. So it seems to me that at this point that Kovalev brings more to the dance than Stevenson. Stevenson bases everything on that left hand. He's got a powerful, powerful left hand. But I think that Kovalev would take that. And if he does, and if he can, he beats Stevenson, either by late stoppage or decision.
If he takes that left hand, but if he doesn't...
that's why I said if, because it's a big and dangerous weapon for Stevenson. It's a ruthless. I mean, really hard punch.
Wow.
But Stevenson is looking comfortable in there, and Kovalev is looking equally comfortable inside of there. But these are the fights that boxing needs for those fights to be made.
Uncle Bashir, thank you so much.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.